Thanks so much for joining this call today. As Angie mentioned, my name is Melissa Parrish. I'm one of the work comp program supervisors here at DLI on the compliance team. And I do recognize a lot of names that I saw jumping on this call. So good morning to all those I know and to those I don't. We're happy that you're here engaging with us on this meeting. So this answer hour, we're going to focus on the business readiness plan. And let's see here for our agenda today. There we go. We've got some stakeholder feedback we're going to go through. So many of you took a recent survey about training, and we're grateful for the feedback that you gave us from that. So I'm going to review some kind of some feedback that we received, the most common things mentioned. We're also going to talk about the organizational change management strategy and the business readiness plan from the Work Comp Modernization Program team. As well as go over some training plan information and look at a calendar, kind of what has happened, what is happening, and things to look forward to. As Angie mentioned, questions are always welcome. Feel free to put those in the chat that she will monitor. And if you do need to take yourself off mute and ask the question, I'm absolutely fine with that. Please feel free to get your questions answered. So definitely jump in as needed. So this slide is one that I actually got to put together myself. I went through the survey results that we received for the training that had happened so far, and there was a lot of great answers and feedback on what people wanted or needed, and so we appreciate that very much. And I tried to kind of highlight here the main themes of what I saw, and the first one being forms in general, that people were looking for more information on forms, more detailed information and demonstrations, when to fill them out, how to fill them out, kind of from start to finish. And I thought that was very much needed. So I agree with that feedback. And so that is something we're going to be looking at doing, both in the form of demos on these answer hours, but also that is feedback that has already been passed on to the training team here at DLI as they prepare more training to come. So that's something that they will be looking at as well. There were other questions about forms, as far as some people who might not even be as familiar with EDI and had some questions on the current forms today and what those forms are going to look like in EDI. Some of you on the call have all that memorized and you know that information. Others might not be as familiar with it. So I was going to show briefly, if I could here, and now I'm scrolling over to my internet browser here to the DLI website. So for those who are familiar with this, if you can bear with me for a second here, but I'm hoping this will be useful information. On the DLI website, if you go and click on the workers' compensation button, I'm just going to walk you really quickly, and then to the Work Comp Campus button here. And then finally, there's a link right at the top here for campus training for external stakeholders. And on this, there's a lot of information about presentations and videos of previous training that happened. That can be good information, but there's also a dot right here that talks about EDI resources, and there's a form to maintenance type code crosswalk here that I thought would be worth for anyone who has it already. Great. If not, maybe save this bookmark or print this out. It's a great resource for the different MTC codes that we will be accepting in Minnesota, and then what the current form before we go into campus is looking like. So a lot of the feedback I saw was related to, hey, how do we file the NOPLD in campus? And if you kind of scroll down on the sheet, you'll see a few different places that the NOPLD is listed. So for example, the CD, compensable death right now, you would file that information on the NOPLD, but there's a specific MTC for it. Same with if the employer is paying benefits, right now you'd file the NOPLD box 1 that you're accepting the claim, but you'd mark off that first box to say, hey, full wage continuation. And now there's an MTC for that. So hopefully this will be a good resource for people. It doesn't mean we're not going to go over forms more in the future. We definitely are planning to do some demos and training, but this would be a good place to start. And if you need this information or can pass it on to someone else who might find it useful, that'd be great. More feedback that I saw, several people had mentioned a demonstration of a mock claim from start to finish, and I think that's a great idea as well. Again, this information was also passed on to the training team. So what I can do on a demonstration, I'm hoping that can also be supplemented in the training, so that if I can't get to every part of it, I'm hoping to have a fairly robust claim I can show, but I might not be able to do every single form or every single situation, of course, that we can hit some more of that in training as well. The third point here about group admin information and training, I can say that yes, there will be training available for group administrators. I won't be covering that myself in the answer hours here for the insurers and trading partners, but that will be coming out with the training information. So if you are a group admin or you know one, be sure to sign up for that or direct them into the right place once the registration information comes out. There are a few different questions, basically just asking, why am I going to need to be in campus, or when, like, what am I going to be doing? And I'm hopeful that when we go through the demonstrations and the training and the forms, that will become more evident, but that's something that we're going to keep a focus on when we are creating the demos and the training. There was also some feedback about trading partner profiles. I thought that was a great idea. I'm hoping to show a demo how to update that trading partner profile. So you always have the opportunity to give us the current accurate information once we're on campus, so we can make sure we have that information on your profile. And then the final point I put here was more practice training in campus. I didn't want to ignore that feedback because it sure came up a lot, and I can understand why. From what I know, there isn't going to be a chance to like go in and play around in campus until once we hit go live is when you'll be actually in campus. So the next best thing that we can offer would be the demos and the training. But if any of that changes, obviously we would keep you up to date as best we could and as quickly as we can. But again, that was feedback I saw, so I wanted to address that. And already I feel like I'm just talking fast like I normally do on these things. Angie, I should pause for a breath and also just see if there's any questions so far.
I'm not seeing any questions quite yet in the chat, but just wanted to add a little bit to what Melissa was saying. Obviously, she's gone through these surveys. We're pulling out some of the major themes of what you all are saying that you want or saying that you need. Please feel free to let us know specifically with like those demo situations. If there's any specific process that you're interested in, we can certainly look into working that into Melissa's demos. So you can either please put those in the chat if you'd like. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and put our WCMP email in the chat as well. So if you think of something tomorrow or the next day or next week, just send that our way so that Melissa can try and incorporate as much of that as possible into her demos. And we did actually get a question as I was talking there. So when we go through the demos, can there be screenshot documents shared with the participants? That's definitely some good feedback. Yeah, we can definitely look into some of that.
Yep, I think that would be a great idea. We'll see what we can do on that, because that is something that I think would be very helpful to me if I were doing this as well, to have those screenshots and be able to follow along. So thank you for that. All right, moving on now to some organizational change management strategy. Sounds very official to me. So here, again, the work comp modernization program team came up with a business readiness plan, and we've got some 4 main points here that we are doing on our end. The first one being answer hours and weekly emails. You should be receiving your weekly emails on Fridays and updates. If you are not getting those yet, then I'm going to just jump right back over real quick, if I may, and go back in my browser. So again, I'm on the DLI page here, and this was where we got to the work comp campus training. And if you scroll down on the side here, you can see all the different groups, employees, employers, etc. So if you're a trading partner and you clicked on the trading partner link here right at the bottom, all the way down, you can subscribe to get further updates. So again, you can do that or send that information along to those you might think would find it helpful. And then as far as the answer hours, you guys are all here. So that's great that you guys are obviously engaged in what we've started so far already here. Point number 2 on this slide being more training that is needed and is being created. Point 3, more demos. Again, we've talked about this answer hour is not going to be a huge demo. It's going to be more questions and answers shortly. However, the following 3, so those first 3 Wednesdays in October are really when we're going to dive into the demos, and that'll be a focus. And then point number 4, more testing. So that has already been happening and is kind of wrapping up right now for EDI testing. We've had 2 full weeks of it, and then this week we've got some follow-up testing. happening. So those of you who are some of you are very involved in that, know all about it, and that has been happening as well.
Melissa, it looks like we've
Yes.
got a question in the chat.
Okay.
Just an explanation of what you mean by trading partner, if you want to just kind of run through that.
Sure, thank you. So if you are a trading partner, you're going to know what that term is. If you don't know what it is the people who submit, the organizations that are submitting the EDI information to us. So there is an actual trading partner profile that is submitted. So if I am an insurance company and I submit my own claims, I handle my own claims, I submit currently at DLI, I would submit my first reports of injuries are done via EDI, and then I would submit all my other paper forms. In campus, we're moving over to more EDI, and so I'd be the one, if I'm the trading partner, I'm actually submitting the data for that 400 or the IP, which is the initial payment, which right now looks more like an NOPLD. So that's the entity that submits the EDI data. Was there anything else, Angie?
Thanks, Melissa. No, but
Okay.
that's what we've got right now.
Perfect. Okay, so external stakeholder business readiness. We've got a few things here that we're hoping our external stakeholders like you will be engaged in doing. The first one being reading those emails, which are sent out weekly. We hope that the information there is helpful. We hope that you will be engaged in the meetings. And again, here you guys are. So congratulations, that's working well so far. That's great. The third point, the group admin roles in campus. So the entities need to have a group administrator role, and surveys were sent out to get that information. And the survey included information like we needed your organization name, theme, the type of organization, an address, and then one or more group admins could be identified, and we needed the name and email address for that individual or for those individuals. If that doesn't sound familiar to you, and if you think that didn't happen or we might be missing some information, Angie did put that email address, I believe, in the chat for the work comp modernization project. You can always reach out. Otherwise, we have gotten some results, and there's some back and forth discussion happening if there are questions. And then again, that specific group, the group admin, there will be specific training for those people that will be helpful. And then, the fourth point on the screen being to attend training. And I'm sure you guys are all anxiously waiting for more specific information on that. So I'm sure you guys are ready to be engaged in that as soon as we can provide you with the information and sign up links.
And Melissa, it looks like
Yes.
we've just got a couple questions in the chat. I'll just go ahead and handle these. They're just related to campus access and group administrators. So just some questions about when group administrator training would take place and when administrators would have access to campus. So as Melissa mentioned earlier, we do not have, we just have some limitations, obviously, due to COVID and all of the things like that on allowing people into the environment prior to go live. So group administrators will have access on November 2nd. As far as the training, that will be communicated shortly. I believe we're just kind of trying to finalize all of the new training dates. So definitely just keep an eye out. I would assume that will be released in the next couple of weeks. And then there were a couple questions just about group admin sign-on information for those of you who have already filled out surveys. So thank you so much for being patient with that. We are still receiving some of that information, so we're working on finalizing it and getting everybody set up in the system. I would expect that you'll receive an email with additional instructions and additional information in mid-October or so regarding those group admin accounts. And then that will likely line up with training as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Angie.
Yep.
All right. And then moving on, this is a continuation of the external stakeholder criteria. They're beyond the weekly communications that are coming out now. There are going to be a couple more, at least, but a couple more executive leadership emails. So when you receive those, and I'll be looking at it, or we'll be looking at a calendar shortly if you're curious about when those will be coming out. And those will have some information in them as well. And then there are also going to be go live launch events the week before campus launches. So we can look at that on the calendar, and we hope to have your involvement in those. And then the last point there had to do with the testing, which is wrapping up right now. This would be in the final week of the follow-up testing. So that's getting done. Oh, and you know what? I forgot that second point on the slide here did mention the help desk information. So I wanted to call some attention to that we do have the work comp help desk phone number and email available. It is already going live and they are receiving questions. The phone number for that, I can, if anyone is quickly grabbing a pen, I'm stalling for just a moment here, but if you don't already have it, our main phone number of 651-284-5005, and it's option number 3. And I hear typing. I'm hoping that's Angie maybe typing that in to put it in the chat. As well as there's an email address that came out on a communication many of you have already seen, but the email was helpdesk without any punctuation or spaces at dli.state.mn.us. So it's just helpdesk at our usual email of dli.state.mn.us. And they can take some questions and get you to the correct people or person to answer the questions you might have. And then moving along, we have some training plan highlights. And I've got to admit, I wish I had more specifics. I'm sure you guys wish I had more specifics as well as far as planning for exact dates and stuff. That is being worked on right now, and we will share that information as soon as we can. But we do know that the external training is going to take place in October. And much like before, there's going to be live sessions that we hope you can attend. If you are unable to attend them, they will be recorded so you can watch them and listen to them later, or you can attend the live and watch them again later if there's hopefully helpful information in there that you can go back and refer to and get some more questions answered if you have them. I've already mentioned, I think, a lot of what the rest of the slide says, but there will be training for group administrators and additional frequently asked question documents, quick reference guides like what I showed you on the internet browser there in our web page, where there's some guides that hopefully are helpful, and we're hoping to make more of those available. And that would be another, I think, place where Angie had mentioned if you can think of something right now to put in the chat, or if you want to email the Work Comp Modernization Program if you think of something in the next few days or whatever. We can certainly consider if we hear, hey, we really need a cheat sheet for this specific situation. That's definitely something we can consider and hopefully be working on. And then finally on this slide, just the demonstrations and interactions during these campus answer hours. So we've got the one today, and then the three first Wednesdays in October coming up. All right, here is a chart of some of what is happening. So here we sit the week of 9/21, and we're kind of, for the stakeholder engagement, we're sort of between getting the feedback, and then we've got some time right now to plan, and then really starting these 3 weeks in October, we will be working on those campus demonstrations and continued questions and answers. And then that week before go live, have a launch event. When it comes to testing, once again, we've been doing some connectivity testing, EDI testing, and follow-up testing is finishing up now. For the communications, we've got 2 big blue bars of just constant communication each week that's being sent out, but then a couple others here. The executive leadership communication, you can expect those to come out 2 more in the future, the week of 9/28 and 10/26. And then finally, the surveys under communications, you're done with a couple of them, but there will be 1 more coming out 10/12. And really, truly, if we can get participation on those, it's always appreciated, because that will help guide us on some of what we continue to need to do and get feedback on that. So that would be great. When it comes to training, again, we identified some training gaps, and then the current piece right now is just the development with training happening these 3 first weeks of October again. I saw a question kind of pop up. I think with testing, was it?
For you, yeah. It was just saying that we mentioned, or you mentioned, that testing is wrapping up this week. If the testing is specific to campus or EDI?
Good question. This was EDI testing that was happening with the trading partners and vendors, where they were submitting EDI test information. And so we were working with them on that connection. Anything else right now?
Nothing else that I'm seeing. I'll keep you apprised. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So now we've got kind of a calendar view here. There we go. Of again, we're kind of at the bottom of this down here in September. You can certainly look back and see all the exciting updates of what has happened the last few weeks here. But today we sit at the answer hour for insurance groups, and I thought this was worthwhile. You probably already know, but there are a couple other answer hour groups here. And if you are part of more than one group, or someone in your company is, and you want to encourage them to come to get more specific information and questions and answers for their groups, please do encourage that. Then later this week, we'll have another weekly communication, but then I'll move right on to October. And I did note, I believe that this is an error, and I apologize, I didn't see it fast enough to ask for it to be taken off, but this first week it shows training the week of September 28th, but the previous slides did confirm training was going to happen these 3 weeks of October. So I apologize, but I believe this first blue bar is inaccurate. So the week of, next week, right? We'll be getting some more updates and communication, but then really that first full week of October, we'll have answer hours again, and we'll be jumping into the training and the demos during the answer hours. So we've got 3 weeks of that with that survey packed right in the middle of that. Hopefully will be a good chance to get some more feedback. And then we're getting into November. So that week before go live, you can expect another executive leadership update. And then there are some go live events. I'll bring your attention to Thursday, the 29th, being the one for external stakeholders. So we will be sending out more information on that as soon as we can. And then the much anticipated go live date on November 2nd with support and information to come during that week, including more surveys, more communications, and hopefully lots of chances to answer some questions. We do have answer hours already scheduled for the other groups here. Ours was on Wednesday, the 11th. However, that has been canceled, seeing as that is a holiday where state offices will be closed for observance of Veterans Day. So we are working to get that rescheduled. And then that brings me to my final slide of just asking for questions. That was a lot of information. So if anyone has anything in the chat, or if you do want to take yourself off mute and ask some questions, please go right ahead.
Hey, Melissa. So I'm not seeing anything in the chat, but just something that I wanted to highlight with that previous slide. I know we've got a bar on that first week of Go Live that says help desk and Go Live support. Just so everyone's aware, it's certainly not going to be limited to those 3 days. Help desk will be available after that. So just for clarification, no need to worry about just getting your questions in for those 3 days. It's going to be available after that as well.
Thank you. That's good clarification to have. I'll just talk a little bit here while we might wait for a few questions to come in, but being the person who is going to spend the next couple of weeks kind of doing some of the demo work and getting the demos ready for the next free answer hours that we have, definitely feel free to jump on with any specific thoughts or to email on the side for those demos. I did mention like wanting to do demos with the forms like requested, so things like the discontinuance web form, even if there's any other really popular ones that people would really like to see, you can certainly give me that information. And also if there's anything else off the top of your head, feel free to jump in now or let me know later.
Yeah, Melissa, so we got a couple things in the chat. So first off, just a thank you for the additional communication and training. Everyone at DLR has been incredibly helpful with the questions.
Great.
And then another question, if there is any discussion of pushing the go live date out, and I would assume pushing it out further than November 2nd, is that question? If so, we have not been looking at that at this point. I'm not sure if Brad is on, if he has any additional information, but I do not believe that there are any plans at this point to be pushed go live any further than November 2nd.
Yes, I haven't heard of anything on my end either. And obviously, I don't see Brad on, but if he is, he can jump in. But from the business side, we haven't been part of any conversation with that. To be fair, when this was postponed the first time we heard about it, once the decision was made as appropriate, and as communicated, I do think it came from feedback from external stakeholders. So I'm assuming that would be in consideration if they if they got feedback again, or at least to answer the questions and concerns. But I don't know that that is um, even that is being talked about at all.
Then just another question. Do you have a percentage of businesses that feel they will be ready to go on November 2nd? I can field that one, Melissa, if you
Okay.
want.
Sure.
So I don't believe that we have any specific, like I'm not aware of any specific statistics, but I could certainly look into that information and see if that's something that we could make available based on
I
the
mean,
feedback.
when I looked at that last survey, one of the questions was if people felt they were very ready or partially ready. But of course, it wasn't like we didn't get responses from everyone. So I don't know off the top of my head what the percentage was. I do know it did not say that 100% of the people answering the survey said they were ready. That was not the case. We did not have 100% of people saying yes, we feel very ready right now. There was a mix of answers from those that did respond.
And hey, this is Pollock. I can just add that we'll be doing another pulse check with all of our stakeholders sort of at the midpoint of the beginning of September to November 2nd. So we will get more data and check in with our stakeholders and how they're feeling around their readiness. And also that criteria and that checklist that Melissa went through is really going to be our sort of North Star and our sort of guidepost on, making sure that we deliver everything that's part of the plan, and so everyone feels ready for go live by November 2nd.
Great, thanks, Paula.
Oh, sorry, guys. Just want an additional question and comment in the chat, Melissa. So, um, will one of the future demonstrations touch base on what is generated in campus based upon what is submitted via EDI as a complement to the Form to NTC guide?
Look at that. That's a good. I'm making a note right now.
Yes.
What I can do. Short answer being, I can certainly look to do that if that is something that would be helpful. I'm going to go back, especially as other questions might be coming in, and just because it might be easier for me to do it this way. Oh, just kidding. I'm going to go to my on our EDI page here on the Department of Labor and Industry. Of course, you guys probably have or already have the implementation guide, but I'm just going to, I'm sure you, I'm going to pull this up and go to pages, I believe it starts on page 7, just for a quick reference guide for you guys for today. If you go to our implementation guide, starting on page number 7 here, there is this chart, this table that shows the different MTCs, and then is a form returned by Minnesota, yes or no. So hopefully that would be an okay starting point to at least show you if you submit a 00, yes, you are going to get a form returned by Minnesota. Is legal service required? Yes, it is. And you can go through each one here. And I believe at the bottom, I hope I'm not making anyone dizzy with my scrolling, I apologize, but at the bottom here, there are a couple things here that are called out for some special extra information. But I did make note of that. I can look to do that in a demo or kind of maybe walk through a couple of them, but also hopefully this will be a good resource to start with as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa.
Sure. I thought I saw a couple other flashes up in my screen when a question came on, but I can't always tell if that's just you answering a question or if that's a new question.
Some of them were just me putting some of the resources that you were talking to or speaking to in the chat, just so people could reference those. And then I think we just had a question here about what is the major concern to go live. I would assume just amongst the stakeholders that we've surveyed.
Oh, I guess I'm not sure if I'd be able to answer that. Is that posed at us, or is that posed, or I suppose it must be posed to us. I'm sorry about that. For the survey results, I know there was answers about if people felt very ready or partially ready. And then the open-ended questions were more related to like what kind of training you need. So the answers I could give would go back to one of my earlier slides where it talked people really wanted to see what they'd actually be doing in campus, when to submit forms and how. What does a claim actually look like through the life of the claim? So those are the main things I pulled out of that survey, but I'm not sure Pollock or Angie or anyone else who might have access to more if there's a better way to answer that question. Sorry.
Yeah, so I would probably defer to Pollock on that one if she has some information. Otherwise, we can always look into maybe quantifying or looking into some of the trends of those surveys and possibly following up with you all to give you an idea of what we were seeing. But I think Melissa was spot on with those issues and trends that she brought up. That's kind of what we're seeing in those surveys.
Mm-hmm. And when I looked through the survey, of course, I was looking through for insurers, self-insurers, trading partners. There were results, or I'm sorry, feedback information from other stakeholders as well. So there were, QRCs and rehab and employers and stuff. And I did not comb through all of that information simply because I wasn't aiming at it with this presentation. But speaking for our group here, those were the main themes.
Melissa, I've got another question for you in the chat. What does forms returned by Minnesota mean in the implementation guide?
Oh, sure. So when an EDI trading partner and when a vendor, when they're submitting the EDI information to us, there are certain of these MTCs that are submitted where the data is used to populate a form that is returned to that trading partner, to that vendor, via the EDI connection. And some of those things, so if a FROI is returned, it's because that FROI needs to then be served on the employee. So it's if you are a trading partner, it is something that you will be picking up when you submit certain MTCs, or your vendor will be, and then giving it to you. I guess, Angie, I don't know, you might have is there a more technical answer you want to even speak to on that?
Yeah, so I can just add a little bit of context to it. So everything Melissa said is absolutely right. So if you're an EDI trading partner, you're likely going to get these back with your acknowledgments. I would recommend that if you are someone who works with a vendor, that you touch base with your vendor just to make sure that everything is kind of in place for you all to receive those documents. One thing that I do just want to mention, in addition to what Melissa covered, these documents, if they are generated by these transactions, they would be returned to you if you're that EDI trading partner. However, they are always going to be available on the claim details page in Campus as well. So if you submit a FROI 00 and it has been accepted and that document's generated, if for some reason you need that immediately, you can always log into Campus and grab that document right off of the claim details page. I think that was something that we did get some feedback about, maybe just some training gaps. So we'll be sure that we fully highlight that process. And then for those of you who are eForm trading partners, so if you log into Campus and actually data enter, or some of you may currently log into our eFROI environment and data enter, those will also generate these documents in these circumstances, but in those circumstances, you all would just be navigated back to the claim to grab them right from your documents page.
Perfect. Thank you, Angie.
Yeah. And I'm not seeing anything additional in the chat right now. So what we can do, Melissa, if there's nothing else that you want to cover, we can maybe just hang on for a couple minutes in case there are any lingering questions. I'll go ahead and put that email address in the chat one more time. But otherwise, I think we're probably good to give people a little bit of time back.
Perfect. And yes, absolutely. I can certainly stay on. So if anyone has a question, wants to unmute or keep typing, please do. And I guess while we're waiting on that as well, I will Say it one more time, but don't forget the next answer hours if you have not already signed up for the 7th, the 14th, and the 21st, when we can get into some demos and some more questions as we approach that go live date. Please do sign up for that or share that information with other members on your team. Hopefully that'll be a really good chance for us to walk through some of these processes that we've received the feedback on that we want to make sure we get more information out on.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa. Looks like I don't have any additional questions in the chat. We did just get another comment just saying thank you for being proactive with the information and receptive to feedback. So you're welcome. We obviously want to continue doing that. With no other questions, Melissa, if there's nothing else you want to cover, I can go ahead and end this and we can get the recording posted shortly.
Absolutely fine. Yep. And go ahead. Everyone has that email address for the work comp modernization project. So if something strikes you shortly or in the coming days, please don't hesitate to reach out. But just a big thanks for coming to this answer hour, and we will chat again in a couple weeks. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your day.